Hello guys, and welcome back to all 1070 members of the channel. I can't believe I'm saying that, but welcome back to all 1070 members of the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the FIA, Ben Sulayem. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure a fair few of you don't know this, Ben Sulayem, the FIA president, was being investigated for potential manipulation in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in 2023 and for some matters to do with the Las Vegas GP in 2023. Now, we'll start with the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. What happened was Fernando Alonso got a 5-second penalty in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Now, whilst he was serving his 5-second penalty, the rear jackman touched his car. Now, in the regulations, it says that if you touch the car whilst you have a 5-second penalty, that means you get a 10-second penalty. The manipulation he was accused of is essentially that he asked for Fernando's 10-second penalty afterwards to be revoked, and so he wouldn't get an extra penalty. So what happened was Fernando Alonso finished in P3, but he took a penalty which dropped him behind George Russell. So George Russell took the podium, well, he took the trophy. Fernando Alonso's second penalty was not given, and so he retook third place. I saw a couple of comments about people saying how Fernando Alonso mysteriously was given back his position in Australia because the lap was void, but they still managed to give Carlos Sainz a penalty for a lap that didn't even exist technically, and things like that. And in a sense, I do understand that this is very fishy. The FIA have been coming up with very fishy things these past few days. Not only this that has been investigated, but obviously the Christian Horner investigation is going on now. And it seems that Ben Sulayem, the FIA president, has asked Max Verstappen to openly come in support of his boss, Christian Horner. Now, as I'm sure you guys are all aware, Max hasn't been openly in support of Christian Horner. He hasn't condemned him in public either, but he hasn't exactly been his most strong supporter, partly because obviously his dad has said his comments about Christian, and he said his loyalties lied with his dad and Marco. But back to Ben Sulayem and his case, I find it really disturbing that whenever the FIA gets itself into any type of mess, it's always the FIA investigating the FIA. I want to take you guys back to Abu Dhabi 2021. Now, in Abu Dhabi 2021, obviously there was a whole human error, manipulation, yada, yada, yada. We all know the deal of Abu Dhabi 2021. That's not the point. The point is that in investigating what happened, the FIA investigated the choices from people in the FIA, or race control, which is part of the FIA. They found the FIA not guilty, but they found Michael Massey guilty. Now, in that situation, they could scapegoat him because they managed to fire Michael Massey and essentially send him to the back rooms where he shall never be seen in a Formula One paddock again. Now, in this situation, obviously, if they found Ben Sulayem, the FIA president, guilty, that would be massive ramifications, and they didn't find him guilty. Again, I won't read the statement, but it's one of those vague statements where they found him not guilty and goodbye, please don't investigate this any further. It seems the FIA have a massive problem in staying consistent with themselves, and it seems like they have a bigger problem with Formula One, as the next allegation he was accused of tampering with is the Las Vegas GP. For those of you who don't know about the Las Vegas GP, the Las Vegas GP wasn't actually finished in terms of the track. It wasn't finished until very late, and it had to be approved. And Ben Sulayem is essentially being accused of not wanting to approve the track, trying to derail the Las Vegas GP, the one that happened last year. Now, why he would do this, mixed opinions, but after looking into it myself, I found that the FIA and Formula One have different objectives. For those of you who don't know, the FIA and Formula One are not the same thing. Many fans would think that the FIA are essentially owners of Formula One, but they aren't. Liberty Media own Formula One. They have the true rights to F1, the commercial rights to F1. And so when F1 grows, yes, the FIA reaps some benefit, but Formula One doesn't actually need the FIA. The FIA are just a governing body. Formula One pays to be part of their corporation or racing series, And so think of the FIA as a separate entity to Formula One that does require payment from Formula One. Now, if Formula One were to get too big, it could cost the FIA because for the FIA to keep Formula One inside the sport, it would cost them more. They would need to do more. Okay, this is me from editing this. I'm not sure if I explained this correctly, But what I really mean is Formula One as a brand pays the FIA. Now, if Formula One becomes a much bigger brand, it can command better prices for itself, essentially meaning the FIA has to give Formula One more value for their money, whilst probably asking for a cheaper price because there's more competition. I'm more talking about a law of business than anything. They would need to do more in terms of races, regulations, and things of that nature. Now, circling back, essentially why this is a whole thing about Ben Sulayem being accused of essentially trying to derail the Las Vegas GP is because the Las Vegas GP, at least in 2023, was one of the biggest, most anticipated GPs of the entire year. It was been anticipated for many years. And unlike the Miami GP or COTA, this GP is the Grand Prix that was said to really land Formula One's mark in America. And with that will come the rapid growth of Formula One and the expansion of Formula One. Now, we've already seen that the Saudis are trying to buy Formula One for 20 billion, and Ben Sulayem said that number was inflated, trying to downplay the value of Formula One. The reason all of this matters is because the FIA and Formula One are two different entities. They are two different businesses at the end of the day. Now, if Formula One becomes too big to control, that could become a problem for the FIA, as they will have to yield to F1's demands, such as in 2023, Ben Sulayem declined having 6 sprint races in the 2024 F1 season. Now, from reading what Autosport had to say on it, it seems like it was for monetary reasons. They said they had to invest more to accommodate the teams for more races. However, a point was also made that this doesn't make sense because F1 teams pay money depending on how much points they get as an entry fee in what they get in championship points. So in other words, the more points a team scores, the more they pay the FIA as entry fees. So having more sprint races would mean that the FIA can take more money from the teams. So the issue of the FIA would need more money to accommodate more sprint races doesn't really make sense, because in having more sprint races, they would in turn get more money, especially because if you guys remember, the sprint races used to be in the form of first, second, third gets 3, 2, 1 points and everyone else gets no points. And now it's obviously 8 to 1 point. So more teams get points and more points are given out, which means more points for the FIA to cash in on at the end of the season. So again, the only point I can think of is a power dynamic. Sprint races have been a hit. Personally, I'm not a fan of sprint races, but it's undeniable that sprint races allow people to get excited on a regular day. Fans, especially casual fans, to tune in on one day and see qualifying, tune in the next day and see a race, and tune in on Sunday and see another race. Whereas most of the time, people skip FP1 and FP2 and maybe stick around for FP3 quali and just the race. So this is starting to beg the question, what is going on with Formula One and the FIA? You have team principals getting in controversies. Before the preseason started, you had the FIA accusing Toto Wolff and his wife of leaking confidential information from F1 meetings. You have the FIA president being accused of manipulation. The FIA in the past has been rightly found to be manipulating events. Honestly, I would rather be talking about on-track things on this channel, but it seems as if the FIA and Formula One are more concerned with things off track. And quite frankly, it seems like off track has a lot more interesting things to talk about than on track. Formula One really needs to get its act together, because it's not a good look for the sport. Most of the interesting things in the season, most of the talking points have nothing to do with the cars themselves. They have to do with the drivers being pay drivers. They have to do with allegations, manipulation, and not to do with the racing and just the racing. I just wanted to comment on this because, one, I'm sure many people don't know that this is a thing, because Sky Sports haven't been talking about it. And just a quick note on Sky Sports. Whenever you hear Sky Sports talk about anything that's not on track, please take them with a grain of salt. Before Sky Sports go on air, they are told you cannot talk about certain things. They are told if you reference certain things, we will put a lawsuit against you. We will suspend you from your job. And so Sky Sports do not bother talking about certain things. And if they do talk on them, they won't give their real opinion to them, because obviously they don't want to lose their jobs and they don't want to be sued. And that's why many fans won't even know this has been happening. I don't know what's gotten into 2024, but this season has lasted 2 races and it feels especially fishy. Hopefully this clears up soon. I just wanted to clear that up because I haven't seen many people talk about it, and mainly because they don't know it's happening. And I wouldn't call it quite a cover-up, but it's definitely suspiciously not talked about. Obviously, like I just said, they will be told you can't talk about this, but really and truly, I feel like this has been swept under the rug, that yet again the FIA is getting themselves into trouble. If you guys like the video, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.